I easily get distracted. So this is like take 1, 2, or 3, maybe even more. But it's like um, I have to talk about the anger, the pain, and the agony inside of me. And there's no one to talk to about it. If you try to talk to someone, an individual, about what's going on with you because you need to release what's inside of you so that you can move forward, they're not going to totally listen to you. Okay? You're going to say something, and then the conversation gets consumed around them and what's going on with them. So to have that two-way flow of communication, it's where you're able to release bottled up stuff inside of you. It's not going to work. So this mechanism of release is almost like a remedy for me. Okay? In 1976, we moved, and it was the first, me as in my mother and my brothers and sisters moved into a house that my stepfather bought. I have thanked him multiple times, verbally and in writing, for putting a roof over my mother's head all those years. To me, that man, I don't care what any of my brothers or sisters think about my stepfather. My stepfather is, to me, like at the top of the scale on men, okay? I don't care what anybody's opinion is. What he did for my mother speaks volumes to me, okay? And that's just how I look at things. You know, whatever rough times that I had as a kid, it certainly is totally minimized compared to the magnitude of what he did for my mother. And he kept a roof over her head for a long time. And that, to me, is huge. I'm thankful and I'm grateful to him. So we moved to this house. It's the first time she ever had a house, okay? We were always living in, let's say, temporary housing. You know, the cruddy ass apartments, the no solid place to dwell, okay? And so this was her first time ever to have a house, and she was like really excited. And I had a 10-speed bicycle. It was orange. And the first thing I did when we moved to this house, because I could really give two shits less about anything about the house itself, other than I was glad that we had a house. But I wanted to check out my surroundings, and because historically, even up until that point, my favorite place was always the woods. You know, stepping into the trees and disappearing, that was my thing. That's what I wanted to do. So I did that. I rode my bicycle short distances, disappeared, but it just didn't feel like I really disappeared. So, you know, I expanded my road trip on my bicycle until I found a better spot, a spot of feeling like I could just be alone and totally disappear. So on this, you know, it took me a while, and I finally found this spot. So I come out of my spot, my designated new spot of where I'm gonna disappear. If I need to disappear, this is gonna be my spot, okay? And I no more than come out of the woods, and I was like, yeah, I'd say about a good 7-8 miles away from our house. And I'm on it. So I'm riding my bicycle. I go down, you go down a hill on a bicycle, like it's, you're just coasting, and it feels great. And you go up the hill, and then you get halfway up the hill, and then you're like, I just don't have what it takes to get all the way up this hill. So I get off my bicycle and I'm walking. And I just get up to the top of the hill where it starts to even out, and I'm about ready to get on my bicycle. And I hear this, I could hear like gravel moving behind me. So I do that slight, not so obvious check across my shoulders to see what's behind me. Because I'm in Maine, okay? At the time, anything could be behind me. A bear, a moose, a wolf, lynx, anything. And I'm smart enough as a kid growing up in Maine not to make sudden movements, okay? So I get a glimpse behind my shoulder, just a sideways glimpse. And I'm like, all I can see is it's like a flash or reflection. So I'm like, walking, and then I do the quick one, and I see, oh, it's just a car pulled over on the side of the road. So I'm walking. I'm just about to get on my bicycle, and I can hear it. It's like almost touching the back end of my tire, okay? I'm walking my bike, and I can feel like this car is close enough to my back tire, and I slightly look back, and sure enough, there it is. So I stop, I put the kickstand down, and put my both hands on my hips, and then I look at the car, to let them know I am not afraid of you, whoever the fuck you are. And I walk over and I go, you almost ran me over. I start screaming at them, giving them some shit, okay? They only crack the window a little bit. It's a black car. It's rather big. It's definitely like a polished car. And this guy says, "How are you doing, kid?" And I said, "You almost ran me over." We didn't almost run you over. We were barely moving. You wouldn't have been run over. What do you want? Why are you this close to me? Well, we're just checking on you. I don't even know you. Well, you don't know us, but we know you. We've been tracking you for years. And I'm going, now I think it's funny. So how do you know me? Well, we know your father. Okay, well, how do you know my father? Well, we work for your father. Well, you mean to tell me you guys work for my father and you're driving this car? Shit, I want to work for my father and drive a car like this. So we get into this conversation, and they try to convince me that they've been tracking me for years, and that they know all about me, and that they know my father. And I say, oh yeah, so what's my father's name if you know him? And so they try to say my father is Elvis, okay? I just like stood back laughing at that one. I said, if my father was Elvis, do you think I would have been living from birth the way that I have been living? Oh, well, there's this huge, things going on around all of that you probably could never understand. Whatever. Well, we're going to try to get him up here so that you guys can at least see each other and maybe spent some time together and all this shit, okay? I blew it off as ha ha. Ha ha. Good try there, fuckers. Okay? Whatever they were attempting. Get on my bike. I make it home. I get home and my mother, you know, she's all so like in this positive mode because she just got her house. She always wanted a house. And so she's home alone. And I come through the door and I just I had never done this before. I grab her hand and I twirl her around and she looks at me and I go, "Mom, sit down, I gotta ask you something." Okay. You know, she's in this really good mood and I said, "Do you know who my father is?" And she goes, "Of course I know who your father is." And I said, "I mean my real father. Do you know who my real father is?" And she like sits back in the chair like, you know, like she's waiting for this. And so I tell her about these guys in this car and what they said. And she said, you know, she taps my hand and she goes, "Let's talk about this later. I got some things I have to get done. And plus I have to make dinner." So she gets up and she's all busied. And I keep trying to probe her going, "What are we going to talk about later? What do you mean we'll talk about this later?" Anyways, we never had that conversation, the later conversation. But those two men that were in that car that stopped and was trying to convince me on some back roads up in Maine that I was Elvis's kid, that they had been tracking me for years. Like, okay, you've been tracking me for years, and if you really knew about this, well, do you think you could, you know, drop my mother some cash somewhere? Because we've been struggling all these years. They said, you know, we're gonna set up a meeting for you two so you can get to, you know, so you can get to know each other a little bit. And in the meantime, the only two instructions they could leave me with was make sure you take care of your teeth because he's really anal about his, you know, caring for your teeth. And the other one was try to write a song. I think that would really impress him. Try to write a song. So I just remembered all this shit today, okay? Because people will go to any lengths to fuck people up. So I wrote my song. So fitting with the life that I have been delivered up until this point, okay? God is genocide, don't you know? God is genocide, don't you ever go. God is genocide, written, it is so. It is written in 3 letters as an ancient line of code. God is genocide, don't you know? God is genocide, don't you ever go. God is genocide, prominently placed on a dollar bill with instructions to kill. God is genocide, don't you know? God is genocide, don't you ever go. I choose to stay on the Aricorian wavelengths, frequencies, code writing side of the world. So I could never be a songwriter, a musician, or anything on that nth side of the degree of human life because I don't believe in producing products using resources created of this earth for useless things and putting them on the shelves for people to buy using money. That's where I'm at. God is genocide. Don't you know? God is genocide. Don't you ever go.